Hi, welcome back to a new episode of Shut Your Face. Yes, I have kind of changed some things around, but it's still just as cool. Anyhow, if you're not a member of our Patreon, what are you doing? It's really cool. So head over there and become a member so you can get early access. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and let us begin.
Hey, is this Lani?
This is.
Hey, it's Brianna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just called a minute ago and had to hang up because it had this weird little, I don't know what it was doing. It sounded funny. Like, I was like, okay.
Oh, my phone's so weird sometimes.
They really are. Like, I remember the times where you had rotary dial phones and you didn't even have cell phones. That's
I
crazy,
know.
isn't
I
it?
wish we could go back.
Really? Why?
I don't know. Social media and everybody just is. I don't know. I wish we could go back. Maybe not to rotary phones, but maybe like to little like Nextels, and we just don't have social media. I don't know. I think it's a blessing and a curse at times.
That's so funny that you brought that up and that you think that, because I would think, because you're a lot younger than me, I would think that you wouldn't feel that way. But that's interesting because I agree 110. I think like social media is obviously a great thing. It's great for business and meeting people and stuff like that, but it definitely has an ugly side to it.
Oh, it does. It does. It'll suck you into it too. And it does have its benefits. I mean, everything happens for a reason, but it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, it can be. And you can't believe everything you see. I have learned that over the last couple of years, because when I was younger, I used to just like take things for face value. I used to be like, oh God, for real? And then the older you get, you realize how easy it is for people to literally say whatever they want or do whatever they want.
They do. And like, it's like you can't believe anything that you see half the time. It's crazy.
Well, let me get into this because I got a couple of questions I wanted to talk to you about. So
Okay.
I'm really glad that you decided to do this. Thank you.
Yes.
Let's start off with this. Did you grow up around horses, or did you just wake up one day when you got older and said I was going to do horses, or how did you exactly get into the horse industry?
So, my dad throughout college, he was studying animal science and everything, and he wanted to be a breeding manager. And so, throughout college and everything, he went and worked on a few ranches and stuff, and then he came back home and realized he didn't want to do that anymore and kind of got out of it. But whenever I was little, he was always real big on us having like a sport or something, and I always did dance and everything. And I think I was about 6 when he first started taking me to riding lessons and everything. And we've always had some kind of animals here. Like we had some donkeys for a long time, and then we he bought me my first horse, and I was about, I don't know, I was young. I don't even remember, but I started taking lessons when I was about 6. So that's how I pretty much got into it. And then I did those like Western lessons for a while, and then I can't remember what age it was. He started having us do English because he thought it was really important for us, which it was, for like core strength and proper posture and everything.
Yeah.
So I did English for a while, and then he was like, me and my sister both wanted to kind of change the pace, and we saw barrel racing one time on TV, and just had friends that did it, and that was that.
That was all she wrote.
Yeah, that was that. And then we started taking barrel lessons, and it kind of just all happened from there.
Do you think barrels was an easy thing for you to hop into, or do you think is it levels to it? I mean, obviously there's levels to all of the disciplines. You know, not everybody is advanced, but do you think that it was something that just kind of was easier for you compared to other things that you had been doing?
I think it's hard to like say, because when you first start out, I mean, we were just taking lessons on lessons horses. I didn't have my own barrel horse or anything, and I didn't know anything about it. It just kind of it took, a lot of work and a lot of lessons, and it was more about just like really falling in love with it. Like I feel like now I'm just now getting decent. I mean, I think it takes everybody. You never really, I was just telling my friend about this, you never truly quit working at it and learning and bettering, but I definitely wasn't, phenomenal. I don't think like anything crazy, but I just loved it, and so I wanted to be better. And me and my sister kind of took it to different levels. So I started out, and I got my first real barrel horse, and she was young, and we started out both learning together. So that was interesting, but it turned out to be the best possible scenario. So that was pretty cool.
Now, do y'all have like a little family competition, or do you guys usually get along pretty good? Or are you the type of sisters that have knockout, drag-out fights and then love each other the next minute?
No, we get along pretty good. We get along pretty good. We just have always just had different levels of love for it, I guess. But we do get along pretty good. Just have different looks about it. Like my goal was to pro rodeo, and I want to make the finals one day, and that's what my life has basically revolved around since I thought about barrel racing. And then she just not really sure what she's got going, but she still loves it, and she does it for fun, and that's all that matters really, is that she's having fun with it now. She quit for about 2 years, but she's back into it, which is really good because it's fun to watch her have fun.
And I think people underestimate barrels. I think that they when you first look at it, you think, oh, it's not that hard. It's just 3 turns, right? But it's a whole lot more to barrel racing than just that.
Yes, it's so much more. I wish I could, even put into words how much you have to work for it. It's, especially, like, going out to Texas, it's an entire different level of industry. Like, these girls have been running their mom's pro rodeo horses since they could walk. Like, wow. It's an entire different level out there. Like, around here, before I moved out, I guess 2 years ago to go to school, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew the competition was way, way different, but I would do pretty good around here, and I would always be, top 5 wherever we would go. And then I went out there, and it was like I couldn't even touch the competition. And it was just like, holy cow, this is a whole different level. But it really opens your eyes, and it makes you work a lot harder than you would have. Just if I would have stayed here, I would be like, oh, yeah, I got it, But it definitely gives perspective.
That's what I was going to ask you. The next thing I was going to ask you was Texas. I have heard and I have kind of seen that, the people that kind of run out there, barrels out there, they are in their own little world. Do you think that, do you think that's a good thing for the industry, or do you think it's a bad thing? Because you do have people, like you just said, you do have people where me and you are at here on the East Coast that think they are, I don't want to say really good because I don't want to offend anybody, but they think they're up there, but they don't know what up there is until you go to another area.
And you truly, I think that, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think that it's unfortunate that we're not as exposed to it out here versus out there, because I do have some friends that have never been out there, and they're like, well, it can't be that hard, like da-da-da-da and all this stuff, and I'm like, no, truly it is. Like, and it is a good thing. I think if you're really passionate about it and it's your dream, then you know that the only way to truly make it is to move out west. Unless you're going to commit to, rodeoing and far, far, far away, like that's a lot of driving. But I just think, I think it's a good thing. But I think it's unfortunate that we're not as exposed to it out here, because some people might not ever get to experience that.
Yeah, you're right. We because I had kind of spoken to a girl that lives up in Pennsylvania, up northeast, and she said it's such a catch-22 because, like what you just said, the competition's kind of crazy in Texas. I did an episode with one guy, and he said that there's like these huge, like jackpots over there are like 300 plus people, which is a normal weekend for them. Whereas a 300 plus show here, where me and you are at, that's a big show for us.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see the difference.
Mhm. And it's all the time there. Like around here, I feel like whenever I was home, I'd plan. We'd have like a jackpot, maybe a few times a month. I feel like I'd be going everywhere trying to look for one, or the closest jackpots, got to travel over an hour to get to it. But, I mean, there's one every single night, and that's not just for barrels. I mean, that's for anything. I mean, any, calf roping jackpots, breakaway, team roping, and all within 10 to 20 minutes of where you live. Like, it's just everywhere. And that's also another benefit of it, too, is, you can always go somewhere to better yourself and get exhibitions and everything, which is pretty cool, but it's just so different.
Now, did you get to, now I kind of know, you moved out there for college, and what exactly are you majoring in for college?
I'm at a junior college right now, so I'm really not sure what, my major is for ag business, but I'm really not sure what I'm going to, do with that yet. I just am figuring it out. I'm in my second year of school, so I'm kind of just getting my basic classes out of the way, but I think I'm going to transfer to Tarleton. I just haven't fully decided yet on what I'm going to do.
Yeah, don't take your time on that. Don't let nobody rush you when it comes to that type of stuff, because, like, I remember being that old, and it's like that's the only thing everybody asks you. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? Da, 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 da. And it's like this big pressure to make this lifelong decision, and you're like, oh, my God, I don't know.
No, seriously, I'm super blessed that my parents they understand that. They're not like I've had parents be like, well, you don't have it figured out yet. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you don't even have it figured out yet what you're doing. So I'm not going to worry about it at 20, freshly 20 years old. I'm just going to, keep going on my path and get my basic stuff out of the way and just see kind of what happens.
Well, and some people, and like it always kind of made me laugh because like it's like those same people that you just mentioned. They'll go to college and then they'll get a degree that they actually don't even use. And my thought process was like, you don't want to waste money and you don't want to waste time and you don't. To me, it was like a really big decision. Like everybody was just all this pressure, and I'm like, I have no idea, dude. I mean, I want to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, people are so weird with putting so much pressure on yourself, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I didn't want to go to a 4-year. Like, I can get the same thing at this junior college I can somewhere else for the 4-year, because I'm not going to go waste, time or money on a 4-year school that I have no idea what I'm going for.
Yeah. So. Well, don't let them get to you on that. It's really none of their business, to be honest with you. It's really none of my business, to be honest with you. Some people are. It's so funny because some people do know they know exactly what they want to do. They knew what they wanted to do from like a young age, and like that's just what they do, and that's just written in the books for them, right? But me, I'm kind of like I was the same way as you are. I'm just like, I don't know right now, like, and that's okay. There's not anything wrong with that. Like, to me, I always thought it was a little too much to ask somebody so young to pick something like that they're going to do for the rest of their life. Because if you don't know, it's really not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as barrels are concerned and your time out there in Texas with riding barrels and things of that nature, and then you coming back here, do you miss riding out there? And I know you're going to plan on going back. You'll be back next year, hopefully, but you've had to come back because of a freak accident.
Yeah, no, I definitely miss it. It's been really hard because I've never taken this much off, like this much time off riding since I've started. Like, I can't remember last time I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever done this, but I can't even I'll be released Friday to walk and stuff by myself, so that'll be good. It'll be slowly but surely. I know by March will be my last doctor's appointment, and then I'm going to really try to make the last few rodeos of the season for the college rodeos, but we'll see. Me being ambitious as always, but yeah, I definitely miss it more than anything, and just being out there. But it's been nice to be home and kind of reset for a little bit.
Now, you were born and raised in North Carolina, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then what drew you to Texas? Is Texas because of the barrels, or was it because of college, or was it because of something else?
Pretty much all of it. We had some horses in training down there, with the lady, and I have a bunch of friends that went to school down there, and just that I've known through high school rodeo and everything, and I just thought, and it is true. That's like seriously the rodeo capital of the world, and so I was like, well, I want to go to school, and that's kind of where I want to be. So it's kind of all of it together, I guess, to be what drew me out there, because I knew about the school and I knew about Stephenville already from everybody, and so I just I picked that and went with it.
And now the accident that brought you back, what exactly happened with that?
So, like what happened with my hip and everything.
Yes, ma'am.
So I've always had kind of bad hips. I have hip dysplasia, and I knew they were always bad. They would always go in and out and stuff, and I'd been in physical therapy a few times, but I was loading up for a college rodeo, and it was one of the biggest ones of the year, and I was trying to put this hay in the bed of my truck, and I went to these huge, like, 150-pound bales, and I was standing on the top railing of my truck, and I was kicking it, trying to make it go in the bed, and I just happened to fall off backwards, and I stepped wrong, and when I landed on my butt, I just knew, like, something wasn't right, because I couldn't get back up.
Oh, no.
And so
That's
I was
scary.
like, yeah, and I normally just, my hips will go out sometimes, and it'll be hard to walk and stuff, and I'll just, like, walk it off, and it'll go away, and it'll, like, work itself out, and I just have always had a really high pain tolerance, and so I was like, something just doesn't feel right. So I tried to get back up, and my mom called me, and she was talking to me about something, and she was like, what's wrong? I was like, nothing's wrong. She was like, something is wrong with you. And I was like, I just fell, and I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm hurt. And she was like, well, how hurt? And I just started crying because I couldn't, like, pull myself up into my truck barely. And she was like, well, I'm making you an appointment, because I never cry, like, for physical pain, anything, ever. So she knew it was bad. And so she was like, you need to go inside and just rest and everything. So I went inside, and she got me an appointment at like 1 o'clock. I think it was like 11. And I had a vet's appointment to get my horses shod. So I climbed in my truck, literally crawled over to my truck and trailer, because it was already hooked up, and had one of my neighbors load my horses for me, and drove myself with my left foot to the vet and had my farrier unload my stuff. And then I drove myself straight to the doctor and pulled my whole rig through the doctor's office lot.
If that isn't cowgirl, I don't know what is.
And I crawled into the doctor's office.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, so give me x-rays, whatever, give me pain medicine, and like, I'll be on my way. And she's like, no. She sat me down, and she was like, I'm really worried that there's something else going on here. I can't see a fracture right now, but we need to get you an MRI ASAP. And I was like, okay, well, I was thinking it was going to be like next week or something, because it usually takes a long time for them to get that sort of stuff together. And I was like, well, can you just give me some pain medicine so I can make it to the rodeo this weekend and I'll be fine? And she was like, no, you cannot rodeo. And I just started crying, like crying. And she made me call my mom. And she talked to her and told her everything that was going on, and they ended up getting me an appointment the next day for an MRI.
Oh, wow.
And
That
so
is quick.
oh yeah, because they knew it was really bad, and so I got put on crutches. They wheelchaired me out to my truck and they said, "Where are you parked at?" And I said, "Oh, right here in the middle of the parking lot." Living quarters, trailer, and everything. So I did that, and then went to my MRI appointment the next day, and they found that I tore some stuff, and they didn't like how my bone was looking. When I fell, my leg bone shoved up into my hip bone, and they're supposed to be floating. Your ball joint's supposed to be floating, and it was no longer floating. It was just rubbing bone on bone. And my labral was torn, and some other ligaments were torn around it. So they're like, we'll give it a week and see how you feel. And I still couldn't walk on it after a week, and they're like, well, you need surgery. So my dad flew out with one of his workers, and they drove my truck and trailer home, and they were thinking I was going to have surgery in January because the guy that, the guy they were trying to get into, my doctor was really good down there in Stephenville, and he's one of the best orthopedic guys there, and he wanted me to have a hip scope and everything, and he put in a reference to this doctor that he's one of the best in the world, this surgeon, and I was dreading it. I was like, I really don't want to have surgery. I really don't want to have surgery, and they got me in, like, within a week. So
That is really quick.
Yes. The scheduler called us and was like, it'll probably be January. And then my mom, she was talking to him and everything, and she really helped get that scheduled and stuff. So between the whole team and support that I had, they got me in really fast, which now I'm more grateful for it than I was at the time. I was so mad at the time. But now I'm really, really grateful that they got me in so fast because I can get back to it faster. But it was a it was just crazy hearing that and talking to him and everything. He told me that the surgery he wanted to do, because my hips were so bad, when he looked at my x-rays and MRIs and stuff, is that he wanted to go in and rearrange my whole structure. And
Of your hips?
Yes, because of the way I'm made. And I was like, and what's the recovery time on that? And he's like, well, you'll never ride again if we do that. And I was like, okay, so that's not an option. So now I'm just focusing on getting strong and slowly checking off the boxes, and eventually I'll have to do my left hip for this hip scope thing that they did, but I'm trying to put that off as long as possible.
Well, how long were you in that's a major surgery.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you in surgery for?
I think they said it was going to take 4 hours or 4 to 6 hours between, like, me going in and then putting anesthesia into, like, coming out of anesthesia. So I'm not really sure how long they operated. I don't think it was very long that they operated on me. I think it was, like, an hour or something. But I really have nothing to compare it to because I've only had, like, tonsil surgery and wisdom teeth and stuff. But they went in and they didn't really know. They knew what they were going in to do, but he was going to look at some other stuff, and he ended up shaving off the top of my ball joint and, like, rounding it out because it just was catching and everything, and they found that I had grade 2 out of 4 arthritis in it, and so they smoothed some of that off, and my neck on my leg that goes up to my ball joint was too fat, so they shaved that down, and so it's going to feel a lot better than it did before. But so that,
heal.
Yes, the first 6 weeks they said are the most crucial to healing. So I really have to be careful. And I already feel a lot better on it. The first few weeks of this they were terrible. Like, pain was awful, and the sleep was awful. I think sleeping was that was probably the worst part. But now I feel like I'm over the hill, and I'm really excited, and I'm just pumped up to get back to getting better and everything.
The doctor said, you won't be able to rodeo again. And she said, watch me.
Yes. I told him, I was like, I'm not doing that surgery. Because they were talking about the big one that would, like, really help me not have the deterioration that I'm having.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I don't even care. I was like, I'll do this till I can't walk. Like, that's not even an option. So.
Yeah, and as advanced as medicine is these days, like I find that hard to believe that they can't do something of, obviously they can. You're better now. So how much longer do you have before you can actually get on a horse?
They said, so everything that they gave me is like a little sheet, and it's like different steps I can go into, like, per month. I think I start running, like, physically, like jogging and stuff in February. Like, I think end of February, beginning of March, I can start jogging. And then into March, I can start running and, like, lifting weights and stuff. They said that when they release me in March, I can be back to my full activities. But my doctor down in Stephenville said that he wants me just to be starting slow and trotting and stuff and, like, loping around on my broke gelding or whatever in March. And I'm like, okay. I don't have any broke geldings, but got some pretty fiery fraternity mares. So we'll just stick with that. But, so I guess March is when end of March is when I'll start getting back on and legging up the ponies and everything.
That is going to be a lot on your hips, because I was just sitting here thinking, to sit in a saddle and ride, that is going to be a lot of pressure on your hips and that whole area right there. You're going to have to work up to that. You do have to do physical therapy, though. You have to do physical therapy before you get up. Okay, gotcha. So you'll be ready.
Yes, they started me physical therapy the week after surgery. Like, it was very fast. They want you up and, like, doing stuff as soon as, you can at physical therapy on your own. They really don't want you doing that much. Like, I can't lift over 5 pounds, and they're taking my brace off on Friday. They're telling me I don't have to be up with my brace on, and I have crutches, and they're telling me that I don't have to be on crutches. And there's also this machine thing that they give you that you have to be in for 8 to 10 hours a day, and it just moves your leg up and down. Like, if you hear some vibrating noise, that's what it is this little machine. But so I don't have to do any of that. But I'm not supposed to be up for more than 30 minutes whenever they do release me, so I can't really do too much, but it's slow steps, which is good. It's like little goals to work for.
Yeah. Yeah, because to expect you to come out something after something that major, you have to take little baby steps to get back to that. Now, how many horses do you have do you still have horses in Texas, or did you bring them back to North Carolina?
No, my dad, he brought them back for me. I had 3 when I was out there.
Okay. So they're back home with you, and then they'll go back out there with you when you go back to school.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure which ones I'm taking yet, because we have a few here that I can choose between. I'm leaving my one older mare here. I think my little sister's going to start running her. I'm really not sure who I'm going to take back. I know my sorrel mare, Bugsy, I'm taking, and my yellow horse. But for the third horse, I'm not really sure who I'm taking yet. But
now, we talked a little bit about this, not a lot, but just a little bit. You're on the equestrian team there, right?
The rodeo team, yes, ma'am.
Rodeo team. Okay, got you. Because, there is a difference between, like, they all have different types of teams. So how many people are on that team, and do you can compete? Can you only compete on that team while you're in college, or can you go out and do your own thing too? You can
do your own thing. They actually, when you sign up, so there's about 60 kids on our team.
Oh, wow.
And we're one of the, like, smaller junior colleges in our region.
That's small.
Tarleton's rodeo team, they've had to start capping it at 150 kids. So
Jesus Christ.
Yes, there's a lot. Our region is huge, and it is the most competitive region in the United States. So it's
I believe that.
It's pretty big, but we can go out and do our own thing. Whenever you sign up and you get your NIRA card, they send you a little thing, and it's a pass for when you like enter pro rodeos and stuff. You have to buy your permit. Well, I think it waives your permit fees if you're a college rodeo, and so I don't think you have to pay for your permit. So they encourage people to kind of go out and do their own thing too, but it depends on your coaches. Some coaches will be like, no, you need to focus on college rodeo and not miss one, because there's only 10. There's 5 each semester.
Mhm.
And you want to be at every single one that you can if you want to qualify for the finals, especially in our region because it's so hard.
Now, does this help? Do you get any type of extra credit or anything like that when it comes to stuff with the rodeo team, or is it just an extracurricular activity?
No, I get a few extra credits. I have a weightlifting credit and an athletic credit and something else, and I think just a rodeo team credit. And also, I'm pretty sure I'm on like a scholarship. He waives my out-of-state fee or something.
Well, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. Some of the kids that come from out of state, they live in the dorms, so they don't have to pay for living in the athletic dorms. And he just built Lou. He's my coach. He just built an arena for them and everything, and they get to keep their horses there for free and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool too.
That is pretty cool, because I was just sitting here thinking, of this stuff in my head. If they didn't have a place for your animals, you would have to stay off of campus, and that would kind of cost a lot of money. That would suck, but...
Yeah, I stay off campus because our main campus is in Ranger, Texas, and it's about 40 minutes in the middle of nowhere from us, in Stephenville, and then they have an Erath County Center, which is just like it's literally in a Piggly Wiggly, but like it's in an old grocery store, but it's pretty cool because I think this year or last year we had 54 of the kids lived in Stephenville, and the rest, there was only like, 6 or whatever living in the main campus. So now that he's built the arena and everything for us, he's tried to get some of the freshmen to stay there, which they have, which has been probably really helpful for them.
Well, that's good, because that way you can stay close to them if the horses are there with you. So that's not a bad idea at all. Now, do you work anywhere out there too?
I don't. I did. I worked for the girls' families that started some of our horses, and then I went home for the summer. That was when I first moved out there, and then I started waitressing a little bit. But now I've just been kind of focusing on rodeo and 3 horses and 6 classes because it's a lot to kind of balance.
And hips.
Yes, well, I wasn't focusing on that. I was like, I was not expecting that to happen.
Well, you might be laughing now. At the time, obviously, it's not funny. Obviously, it's not funny at all. But it's like when those things happen in life, because we all have that type of stuff happen to us, all of us, me, everybody. You look back on it and you're like, okay, well, it obviously, sometimes those things do happen for a reason, and maybe it needed to.
Oh, for sure. I literally was telling my mom after many, many nights of me like crying and just I was just pissed, like super pissed.
I don't blame you. I would be bawling my eyes out.
Yes, and I normally I do not show like any emotion hardly ever towards stuff like that, and I've always just been really tough and like pain wise, and never really complained about my hips or anything. And then I just was telling my mom that I think it was God telling me, like he literally sat me down on my butt and was like, you need to take care of yourself. Like I think he isolated me. He put me in this position to like reflect on myself and just realize how much like everything I truly am blessed with. Like sometimes I got so busy, I guess, now looking back on it, being out there and just having so much time to think, I got so busy in my everyday life, I took a lot of stuff for granted and was just going through it so fast and not really enjoying it like I should have been, and not really taking care of myself the way that I should have, like with my hips, and just ignoring it, and I don't need to treat myself like an athlete. And now I really think I just have a whole different perspective on it for when I get back out there and just on everything. So, I mean, I
No,
guess it's really a blessing in disguise. It really is.
that's very wise of you to say that, and it's honestly a really, really great thing that you have like figured this out at your age, because you know it took me longer to kind of have that type of perspective. And you are right, though. Like, I do believe that God will isolate you when you're not learning what he's trying to teach you. You know what I mean? Like if you keep ignoring something, or if you
Yes.
keep like pushing it to the side, not in a bad way or ungrateful way. It's like you just get busy. It's not like you're ungrateful or you don't love or appreciate what you have. You just get so busy doing that that's like the only thing you do, you know?
Right. It's like, I see it as just like this sounds so crazy, but like a spinning globe. Like, I
No,
just kept on spinning
I
and
agree with
spinning
what
and
you're saying. I
spinning.
get it.
And yeah, and he literally, he tried to, sit me down before, and I've had, like, oh, maybe I should, change some things, and I just need to sit down. And he literally stopped my world because I was running around just like a chicken with my head cut off. And so now I just have really had a lot of time to reflect on everything, and I really am grateful for it. I think it's going to make me stronger mentally than I was before, way, way more than I was before, and physically. So I'm really excited.
That's a good thing, and that's I'm happy for you. That's a positive attitude. I wanted to touch on something real quick that you said a minute ago, which I can relate to, and I know a lot of other people can relate to. I don't want to say cowgirls, but a lot of women, a lot of people actually, we get into this like mindset of not showing emotion. And I don't know if you do it for this reason, but I did it for so long because I thought that it was vulnerable and people would take advantage of it. But I'm actually learning as I get older that there is like a power in showing your emotions, but it's super weird. And I think that, or what I'm trying to ask you is, do you think that holding on to that type of stuff and not being able to express your emotions, do you think that has made you weaker, or do you see it as a strength to be able to learn to do it?
So that's really funny that you use those words, because that's been a really big part of this, is being vulnerable. I never wanted to put myself in a position for being vulnerable, ever. Like,
Right.
I'll say, right, like, I just won't. And I've always tried to be the daughter that doesn't need anything, been the strongest, hard-headedest, whatever, like, or just a friend, like person in general. Like, I'm always helping everybody else out, and I'm wanting to be there for other people, and I don't want people to
reliable.
Right. I want to help other people out, and I don't want to have to ask anybody for anything. Of course, I ask my parents for help or something like that, but I mean, with this surgery, I had to literally give up like everything. I mean, I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself. Like, I couldn't even put my clothes on by myself. I had to be vulnerable and let them take care of me. And for the first week, I was so upset that they were having to take care of me. And I wasn't mad at them. I was like mad at myself, like I was doing something wrong because I couldn't take care of myself and do it. And the doctor's orders literally were not to. And so it was one day I just started crying, and I was so frustrated. And my mom and dad were sitting there, and I was like, I'm sorry. I just feel like I'm like a burden to y'all. Like, I hate having to ask. And they're like, well, you just are vulnerable right now, and you're having to be vulnerable, and you've never had to do that. You're very independent. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, maybe this is, God telling me it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to be upset about things. And I think that it is a weakness when we, tell ourselves, and I've always been, cowgirl up, blah, 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 whatever, my whole life
That's what they taught us. That's what they taught us. Like the cowgirl, I'm so glad we're talking about this right now, because the term cowgirl, and when you grow up in that, no matter pleasure, barrel, no matter any part of it, when you grow up in it, you're taught to be very tough. And this is so funny that we're talking about this right now, because I know exactly how you feel letting somebody help you. And it's not them. It's totally you and me. And it's like you're sitting there, and it's this anxious, just out of control feeling of having to trust somebody, which makes you vulnerable, which it sucks. It's so hard.
It is hard. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had to really realize that it was okay to let them parent me, and it was okay to let them take care of me. And I'm like, I should just really appreciate this. And it made me realize how, like, loved I was. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, my family really does, like, they really do care about me. And sometimes I would take that for granted, or not take it for granted, but just couldn't see it as deep as I did before. And I do think, don't be a crybaby, whatever, but there's an extent, like, it is okay to not be okay, and it is okay
right,
to,
yes.
like, that whole persona, it's just, it depends, I guess. I'm still going to be, my hard-headed self, and I'm going to keep going until this other hip gives out, but but I'm going to be, a different person. Like, I'm going to talk about stuff, and I'm going to know that it's okay to, ask people for help loading your hay. You don't have to be this, like, super independent person that it ends up getting you hurt. And that's with the whole mental thing, too. Like, that cowgirl up thing. Like, okay, I'm 130 pounds trying to put a 150-pound bale in the back of my truck, and I was too hard-headed to ask for help, and look where it left me. And that's, like, literally the physical part of it. And then it's like the mental part of it is, I think we don't talk about stuff sometimes because we don't want people to see us as weak or vulnerable, but it's not being weak. It is putting ourselves in a vulnerable spot, asking for help or talking about something, but in the end, it's so much better for you. Like,
it is, but it's hard, because I can relate to everything you're saying. So it's scary how much I can relate to it. And I think more girls that are cowgirls that grew up with horses, and even other women, can kind of relate to what you're saying, because it is scary. The word vulnerable is like such a scary word altogether, because you don't, once you've been hurt before in any shape or form, you don't want to go through it again. Like, some people may like it, but I don't. And,
no, I
don't
do
want
not.
to have to. Yeah, you don't want to have to go through all of that again and deal with it again if you can just protect yourself. But, like, with your parents helping you and stuff, this is something I've had to learn. You might can relate. Sometimes people, that's the way, like, that's their love language. They like to help you. And letting them, I had to tell myself that I wasn't vulnerable. I didn't need anybody. I'm letting them help me, so it makes them feel better. It makes them feel good to help.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that, too. I really do. That, I mean, a part of me would feel that way, but I had to just be like, Lani, there's no way you could have done this on your own. Like, and you're not, and by letting them help you, you're not, I really thought that I was, like, putting a burden on everybody, and not because of them, but just because I hated that. I didn't want them to, like, I hate not feeling like I can't help. Like, I'm always like, what can I do to help? What can I do to make things better? I want to fix it and fix it and fix it. And sometimes you just cannot fix stuff. Like, there's just certain things that are out of your reach. And I've had to really come to terms with that. Like, this is when you just hand it off to God and let him handle it. And you just let your parents take care of you, because that's a huge lesson for me, is that you can't fix everything. And sometimes things just happen. Because I literally was like, I'm going to walk this off. I'm going to drive my truck and trailer into this doctor's office, and they're going to give me medicine, and I'm going to this freaking rodeo. And they cannot, that wrecked my world. I mean, and I still don't think I really believed it until I was in the hospital getting ready to go under the knife, and I'm like, oh, this is really happening right now. This is really happening.
Sometimes rejection is protection. I've had to learn. I used to not think that or even believe it. I would be like you. I would be just like you, cry, be like upset. Why is this happening to me? Blah, 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 blah. And then now I'm slowly starting to learn, like, rejection is protection. sometimes,
Yes.
sometimes when God is like steering you the other way, or when something
Mhm.
happens and you don't understand it, then you look back later on it, and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
that was for good. That was for a good
Yeah.
thing.
And I really think that too. And I just know that there's something bigger that's going to come out of this. Like, I do have full faith that I'm going to be a better all-around person when I go back to Texas than I was before, and a better all-around athlete. And just, I don't know, I really think that this was just to isolate me. And God's like, you need to focus on me, because this is going to sound super crazy, but I kept getting these like Bible verses and stuff that would just like come up around me in life, and um it was
Like a
telling me,
sign.
yeah, it was like, if you don't, pay attention, and God's going to take away everything, like Job, like God will take away everything to get you to focus on him and to build your relationship with him, and then bring it back tenfold. Like, your plan sometimes is not going to be your plan, and I'm such a plan person. Like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and this is my plan. And I think God was like, you need to rely on me and not on your own, like, understanding. And so I really think that this was him being like, you can't figure it out. Like, you can't do this by yourself. You need help. You need to be vulnerable with me. You need to be vulnerable with your parents. You need to be vulnerable with your friends and the right people in your life. So I think it just was a bunch
I
of
got a
that.
question.
Yes,
I got a
ma'am.
question, because I think I would like to know what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So horses is primarily, aside from team roping and sorting and team penning, the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the horse industry is like solo. It's like one-on-one. It's like one person against other people versus team atmospheres like volleyball or softball. Do you see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So do you think that feeds into a lot of our people in the industry's mentality of having to like take care of just themselves and only worrying about themselves, not in a bad way, not in a
Mm-hmm.
negative fashion, but just, do
Mm-hmm.
you think that that's why it's like that? Because barrel racing is a perfect example. It's you against everybody else. You're not on a
Mm-hmm.
team. It's just you and your
Mm-hmm.
horse against everybody else. Um, do you think that's why it's like ingrained in our brains that we think just like, because a lot of people just like me, think just like what you were saying. We're very independent. We're very independent. We don't want to ask for
Right.
help. We don't want to be vulnerable. You got to be tough, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that's why?
I think it has a part of it to do with it, for sure, because I mean, you're right, like, it is just us. I mean, we're not relying on anybody else. We don't, I mean, it's to each their own in this sport. But I think that at a certain point, like, in the barrel racing industry, you have to realize it's a process, and you're not, it's not you against everybody else. It's you against yourself, because you are going to allow yourself to go as far as you can go. Like, the only person stopping you from being the next Cassie Mowry or Haley Kinsel is God and yourself. And if it's just in the plans for you and you have the determination and stuff, then you'll keep climbing yourself to the top of the ranks and everything. And it is different, like, because I used to think of it as me versus the other girls and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I have to get to that level first. Like, I can't be competitive with them until I get me and my horses up to that level. And I would get so mad when I would go to these college rodeos, especially last year, and I'd beat myself up because, we weren't even close to making the short goes, and these other girls were just killing it every time. And I'd be like, oh, they're just, so much better, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, no, I'm just at a different level in this right now. Like, I'm in a different step in my process than they are. Like, I'm still having to, my horse isn't finished out. Like, I can't, it's just
Right.
not, I'm just not in that same step. So I think it does have, some of that, to do with it, is we have to be, independent all for ourselves. But I think that's when we have to look at it a different way, which I'm really glad that, my perspective's kind of changed on that, because it just is going to happen when it's going to happen.
Right. Well, and you just brought up. Go ahead.
Do what? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I thought I was cutting you off. I apologize. I
No,
was going
ma'am.
to say, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh no. All right. So it is very. You just mentioned the fact that you would see these other girls, killing it. They were on a different level than you and all that kind of stuff, et cetera, et cetera. It's really hard to not. What type of advice do you have for girls that want to pursue it in college and want to pursue it pro? When it comes to trying not to compare yourself, because it's so easy. Plus, we're girls, so it's so easy to sit there and watch people that you idolize or people that you think are cooler or whatever, and you just see like the good things, to sit there and compare yourself. What advice do you have to not do that? Because that's the theft of joy, is comparison. But
yes,
it's so
it
easy
is.
to do. We all do it.
Right. No, and I do it all the time, and I'll catch myself doing it, and it's really hard not to. And it really is. Comparison in this industry will kill you. Like, it will kill you. It will kill your dreams. And for girls that are wanting to get into it, it's just really important not to get too into your head about failure, because really you can't fail. If you truly love it, and, I would use like a mistake as I'll still going into it. I have this one horse, and I struggle with her, and I just have struggled with her since I've got her. And I haven't had her that long. I haven't been riding her that long. But I would get so frustrated with her, and I just would be like, I just can't do it. Like, I'm doing something wrong. These other girls can take these other horses, but it's not about a comparison to other people, but it's more about yourself and trying to better yourself in your journey. And, like, just really important to remember that when you're timing, when God says it's your time, it's your time. But with that, you have to work so hard. I mean, on yourself mentally and with your horses and just your timing and everything. Like, it's more important to, my coach will tell me that it's the sports, 90% mental and 10% physical. The 10% is all the exercising, the pattern, the slow work, and the competing and running, and then the rest of it is mental game. Like, that's all it is for rodeo, is what he'll tell me. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, whenever he told me that. But now I really get it. Like, it is. Your mental game is what limits you. And you just have to stay positive, and it's hard. And it's okay to get mad and frustrated, but you can't stay mad. You have to get up and get over it and just try something new. And trial and error is all it is. For the rest of our lives, we'll be doing trial and error until, even, Cassie Mallory, she hit a barrel in the first round. It's trial and error. She's going to go back with Jarvis, and she's made some changes, I'm sure, and they'll work it out. And there's going to be more hit barrels. It just is, that's what life is. If we're in this barrel racing, it's trial and error till the end. And it's all about learning from our mistakes.
It really is trial and error when it comes to horses and stuff, because like I was talking about this the other day. You're dealing with another animal, whereas other sports is not dealing with an animal with its own brain, and so it is like it's almost impossible to know everything there is to know about horses.
Right.
What are some of your favorite specific training things that you like to do when it comes to getting you and your horse ready and before you go to a jackpot? Is there any particular thing, or even just a regular rodeo, is there any particular thing that you kind of like to do that's your favorite thing to do, or that you are finding yourself working on?
Just really making sure that my horses are exercised, like long trotting. My dad's really big on long trotting, and having my horses as like legged up and as good of shape as they can be. Because, in reality, going in the end and making your run is like the least of your worries. Once you get into the arena for a rodeo or a run, it's all in your slow work. Like, you have to forget all of that. Like, it just is, that's gone, that's done. Whatever's happened, and whatever happens in the arena, you have to leave in the arena. So I've really just focused on getting my horses as long-trotted and as best of shape that they can be, like, agility-wise. Like, I will long-trot them 30 minutes. I would long-trot them almost 4 to 5 days a week, and then I'd have rodeos and barrel races on the weekend, and I'd have them, my warm-up was 15 to 30 minutes of long-trotting, and then slope in and slow work on the pattern. But that's one of my big things, is just really making sure that they're in the best physical shape that they can be. Because if they can move their hind end and everything like they're supposed to, it'll all come together. But I really like doing that, and working circles off the pattern too is a big deal. Like making sure that they engage their butt and their hind end and everything. It really helps on the pattern too. But that's a big general thing that I love.
It amazes me that people don't recognize the same, like, characteristics when it comes to humans and animals. Like, it's crazy to me that people actually think that you don't have to exercise your animals if you want to get the best out of them. Like,
yeah,
they're almost
that's
like
insane.
humans. If you want to be the best, you have to be in the best shape. Like,
right, like that's crazy to me.
yeah, absolutely. But it just made me think about something else. As far the NFR is literally like it was yesterday. So, and it's not over with yet, though, right?
No, last night was round 6, tonight's round 7. So there's there's 10 rounds. So there's still a few more rounds to go.
Right. Who are you pulling for? Are you pulling for Haley?
I love Haley, and she's a really sweet person. I've been to a few jackpots that she's at before, and just being around her is like, I mean, it literally is like being in the presence of, a superstar. She is so cool.
Right.
And then it's like I've also been around Lisa, and all of them are so cool too. I've been in the same warm-up pens as Cassie and all of them. I live pretty close to Cassie Mallory. So that's another big thing, is that it's just normal to, be in the same drag as Brittany Tanazi and Lisa Lockhart and Haley Kinsel at a jackpot on Monday night. But I really
You'd
am
have to slap me in the back of the head. If I was there, you'd have to slap me in the back of the head and be like, okay, back to reality. Come on.
Yes. At first, I was like, this is so crazy. Like, I can't run. I'm, like, so nervous. And then you get used to it. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm just warming up casually beside, Haley Kinsel. And I'm about to run in the same drag as her, but whatever.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal at all.
Well, I remember she's won most of the rounds, but Casey won one last night, didn't she?
Cassie won, I think that was her third round in a row. No, you're good. She's, that was her third round in a row that she's won. And I believe Haley won 3 rounds too at the beginning, and then Cassie won the last 3, yeah. So it's been like a nice fight. Yeah.
Okay, so they're tied.
Mhm. Well,
oh, wow.
I think Cassie's about $40,000 behind her for the world title, and she's kind of out of the average, but it's going to be a nice fight until the end between the two, who gets the world title.
I remember seeing a quote or no, not a quote. It was a post that Haley Kinsel had made, like on her story or something, and it ended up kind of going semi-viral, talking about hard work and sponsorships and stuff like that. And I really didn't keep up with those types of people too much, because I just haven't, until I happened to see that, and I was like, you know what? That girl just won me over, because that was a point. And she was talking about how people come into this game, and not just barrel racing, you can apply this to all of it, to any of them. People come in it and they expect to get something without working for it. And people like me and you, I was taught, if you want something, you got to work for it. Like, there's no other way around it. You got to work your butt off to get what you want.
Yes.
And I just thought that was real down to earth. Like, I just thought that was real cool to see her kind of stand up and say something about it. Because somebody had said something to her or something. I don't remember what it was exactly, but I was like, you know what? That's pretty chill. That's what's up.
Yeah, no, she definitely has a good head on her shoulders, and she's right. Like, a lot of people will come out here and into any sport and just think, oh yeah, well, I should be winning. And it's like, well, everybody else thinks the same thing. And there's people that are outworking you. I'm like, yeah, you want to win, so does everybody else. What are we all doing here if we don't want to win? Like, It's just part of it. But, that goes back to her too, whenever it's your time, it's your time. So
it's one of the biggest quotes that has kept me in my brain when it comes to like work and stuff, because I've gotten a little bit of hate for working hard, and everybody gets some type of love and hate in their life. No matter what you do or what level you're at, you're going to experience it for something. And I have experienced both. And one quote that I've always just kind of kept in my brain is that hustle beats talent when talent don't hustle. So,
exactly.
you could have somebody that's real talented and really good, but if they don't get up and work, they ain't worth nothing. And you could have somebody that's not that talented but gets up and works and goes out and earns it and hustles every day. They'll beat them by a long shot. And I've just always kind of kept that in my brain. Be like, okay, well, you can apply this to just about anything. If you wanted to apply it to, riding horses or running a business or a relationship, or if you don't get up and work for it, how can you expect to get anything if you don't?
Exactly. And that's just that mental thing. It's like, oh, I really don't feel like going and working my horses today. And it's like, well, somebody else is. Somebody else is getting up and putting in the long hours. And, it's like, well, I'm just really tired. And it's like, well, so is Haley Kendall. She's tired too, but she's out there working her horse, and the next girl and the next girl. And it's like, you determine, your future on how hard you want to work and how much you want to put into it.
Well, you, my dear, are going to go very far.
Well, thank you. I hope so. I have faith in myself, and I have faith in the good Lord that He's got some cool plans for me, so I'm excited.
God just wanted to stop you for a minute and go, all right, let's get this fixed.
Oh, He did. He's like, we got to put this train back on the tracks the right way.
Right. You know what? It is a good thing that it happened younger versus older.
That's what they were telling me. They were telling me it's crazy that, already the arthritis and stuff I have already, but it is a good thing that I'm doing this sooner rather than later before it gets too bad. So I'm very grateful for that.
You'll be freshed up, because that way you're going back to your second year, or you're already did your second year, you're going back for your second year, right?
Yes, ma'am. I just finished my first semester of my second year, so I'll be finishing my second semester, and then in the fall I'll graduate from my sophomore year and have my associates and everything.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's better now than you've got a whole nother 2 years. You can still be on the team, and you can do it'll work out better for you.
Yes.
It still sucks though, at the time that stuff like that happens. I totally get it. Like, people sit there and say what I'm telling you, but at the time, like, it sucks. I get it.
Oh my gosh, it sucks so bad. And I still have a long way to go, but it definitely, I know that this is all for a reason, and I think, God's really helped me be positive. I don't know what, I would be going crazy right now if it wasn't for Him. I mean, seriously, I would be so negative and just in a hole that, I couldn't claw my way out of by myself, but it's really
You got a great attitude about it. You got an amazing attitude about it. It makes me feel better talking to you about this, because I mean, like, knock on wood, wouldn't have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? But I would, if I had something happen, I would be sitting here thinking about how Lani dealt with her hip and all that kind of stuff. Like, I would tell myself, okay, well, you should be a little more positive. This is grateful. This is happening for a reason, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a really good example of how you're handling it.
Well, thank you. And it took a few weeks to get to this, because I was not so positive when this all first happened. I was very, very negative. It has taken me a minute, and I'm sure I'll still have, down moments, because it's hard, being away from all my friends and everything, and not being able to ride, and just, not really being able to do too much of anything. But I do know that there is a bigger plan for me, and just keeping my head up and being positive really is what's important, and that's going to help me. It's going to determine how I come out of this in the end. Is just how my mindset's going to be. So I'm trying my best.
Well, it has been a pleasure to speak to you, and I'm glad that you decided to do this with me. And I think you're doing great. I think your attitude's amazing. It's contagious. So I'm really glad that you took the time to talk to me about it.
Well, thank you for, having me talk to you about it. It's I hope that it helps and maybe resonates with somebody else. And I mean, I know I felt really alone at first when I was doing this, and I'm like, there's people in so much worse situations. Like, I'm actually going to be able to walk again. I can't imagine somebody who wouldn't, have to do,
Right.
be able to come out on the other side. So,
Well, it's
yeah.
still it's reassuring to know, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's reassuring to know other people go through the same kind of things that you go through. Because it's real easy to get like what you just said, you feel like you're alone in certain things, certain feelings, certain situations, certain stuff like that. And it's nice to know that you're not sometimes. It's nice to know other people think the same way, and that it just makes me feel better. So I hope that makes you feel better. I know it'll make somebody else feel better.
I'm glad it does. I'm really glad it does. I wish I had somebody to talk to about this, but and then I had God, and my parents, and I'm so thankful for that because I'm a way different person than I was a month ago, for sure.